Okay, good afternoon. Thank you for joining us. If you guys are at home and watching, welcome to our Lunch and Learn for May. I just can't believe it's May already, but here we go. So for May, we definitely think about Memorial Day, which is quickly approaching. And so that's kind of where Joanna and I kind of decided to do veteran specific resources. Now, not exactly lined up with Memorial Day because of clearly there's a difference between Veterans Day and Memorial Day. But as a head nod to Memorial Day, we decided to take care of the brothers and sisters that are that are still with us and focus on veteran specific resources. Um, and before I get too far, I want to introduce everyone that is here today. I am Sandra Sanna-Buckles. I do PR and development for Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center. And today we have Joanna Mupanduki, who's our Deputy Director. She has been with us, of course. I don't think she needs much of an introduction at this point. And then today we have Susan Fritz, who is Warfighter Advance. So do you want to do a quick intro, Joanna, and then Susan?
Sure. Hi, I'm Joanna Mupanduki. I'm the Deputy Director here at Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center. I've been an attorney since 2007. I started my career as a prosecutor, took a little interlude, worked for the Department of State Hospitals in California, and then came here to Maryland as a victims' rights attorney for MCVRC. I then left and went to Charles County as an assistant state's attorney, and now I'm back as the deputy director. So it's good to be here, and it's great to be addressing an important topic of veterans. Thank you.
Thanks, Joanna. And Susan.
So I'm Susan Fritz. I am with Warfighter Advance. I'm a board member, treasurer, and chaplain for the group. I am a 30-year Navy veteran and also 14 years in the government, and I am now an Episcopal deacon. And so I'm not sure my career is over, but I'm getting there. Where I was introduced to Warfighter back in 2018 when I was going through the process of being ordained. And I met the executive director, and she said, "Oh, you would be perfect for our program. Yes, you'd be perfect for our program." And so I've been with them ever since. And as you can tell by my different titles, I've gotten probably way over involved. So, but it's close to my heart. It's put me back working with my veterans and with my back with my family. So.
Yeah. Thanks for that, Susan. And I just want to say thank you for your service. It definitely takes a lot of dedication. My dad was 23 years Army. My uncle retired from the Navy. My aunt retired from the Air Force. My cousins are serving in the Marines. And my husband also served in the Army. So we're kind of all over the place when it comes to military. So I definitely wanted to say thank you. And thank you to the veterans that are watching. And hopefully we can share some great information about what we can do and partner up to provide resources. So hopping into, tell us a little bit about Warfighters and what your mission is, and then we'll hop into the questions that we have for today.
Okay, so our mission is to the successful reintegration of our warfighters. And warfighters, we define very loosely. It doesn't mean you have had to go to war, just means you have had to serve at some point. Although we are expanding and offer it to our first responders, sheriffs, police, firefighters, EMTs, dispatchers, anybody. We look at anybody that is in a profession that has the possibility of suffering moral injury. And because everybody in those specific groups have things that they see that they can't unsee. And so what we're all about is basically giving them back their team. So we in the military, even in the first responders, train as a team. And when they depart that position, the first thing they do is lose their team. They lose their support. They lose their friends when they depart, because most of the time, especially in the military, they're relocating to someplace else than where they've been for the last maybe 3 or 4 years. And so one of the first things we do is we dress everybody, I wouldn't say alike, but we dress them in colors that represent their service. So like, for instance, I was Navy, so I wear a gray shirt. Army wears green. Marines is red. Air Force is royal blue. Coast Guard is orange. And those that are in what we consider civilian positions then wear black. And so easily identifiable, but we don't allow that to become the fence, if you want. You know, we work on teamwork and building that team back right from the get-go, from the first night, and bridging those teamwork things. And so it's a non-medical program. So those professions that have security clearances, or a profession that would, if you self-referred to for a psychiatric eval, or you said, hey, I've got a problem, that you get a black mark and immediately get removed or suspended from your job. We don't do that. We're non-medical. Nobody gets any kind of marks. They don't get, we don't go back to their job and say, hey, you know, so-and-so came here. But what we do is we offer assistance and education and team.
Thanks, Susan. Thanks for that info. We're definitely hoping to share a bunch of more info as we get into these questions. And so I just wanted to identify that, you know, I saw a lot of these same issues, and Susan and I had this great like pre lunch and learn, just the two of us. And I swear, I was like, we're not going to have any issues filling in an hour. But I really identified with some of the things, because I saw that in my dad, you know, having served in 23 years in the military, overseas, and, you know, he lived on base a lot, and it is just a different vibe, and him reintegrating was a challenge for sure. And I think that there were traumas that were never addressed. And so those are two of the things that I know were huge in as far as my father, the veteran. What are some other challenges that veterans have that you guys deal with? I know it's that sense of community and brotherhood, which they really have a lot of, you know, in the military, just kind of like floating around the world and on bases and getting to know the areas when you're new. What are some other challenges that you guys help to deal with?
So if you look at people, men, women that come out of the service, and especially if they've come out of a war theater, as I said, they see things that they can't unsee. And so they need help. And a lot of them resort to either drugs, whether prescription drugs or whether illicit drugs, and or alcohol or some other kind of addiction. And so what we do is we provide them training on the medications they're on. We'll call them medications instead of drugs. It's the medications. We literally give them a book to take home with them that describes all the medicines. And so that we try to make them smart on, one, what they're taking, what the dosages they're taking, and definitely what the side effects are. And then our theory is that when they go to the VA or they go back to their doctor, and the doctor says, I want you to take this medication, that they can look it up and say, oh, well, wait a minute, it interacts with this, or I don't like the side effects, you know, or like a lot of the prescription drugs are on, you know, side effect is suicide. And, you know, kind of why we have 22 suicides a day is because we start mixing medicines.
Right.
So we teach them, the first thing we do is teach them about those medications and how to be smart and how to stand up for themselves. And so we also give them training on back to leadership, because our belief is they didn't give their power away. They just kind of suppress that power. And so we're trying to give them that power back by making them smart and know how to talk to their doctors, how to stand up and say no. And I'll give you, for instance, I had surgery, and the doctor says, I want you to take hydrocodone. And it's like, nope, I can't do it. And it was like, well, you have to, because otherwise you're going to be in pain. So he worked with me on the minimum dosage and how to take it. But it was like, because it's like, no, I'm not taking it. And then I had a doctor who wanted to put me on Zoloft, and it's like, not going to do it. It's not addictive. Oh, yes, it is. It is addictive. And I don't care how small of a percentage. And so what we do is we give them alternative methods to also, if they decide they want to get off their drugs, we do not do a plan for them. We said, you got to go back to your doctor, and you have to work with the doctor and come up with a means to taper off that medication. But in the meantime, here are some other alternative things that you can use. We have some machinery. It's called an alpha stem that they can actually get through the VA. And what it does is it looks like an iPod, and you hook it to your ears, and it basically sends alpha waves into your brain. And so it will help you to cut down on the anxiety attacks and the panic attacks and whatnot. And so we teach them how to use that. And then we give them the means to be able to go and get one from the VA, as long as they're VA eligible. And so that's kind of where we start with our group. Each one has different traumas. A lot of the women and men have sexual trauma. And so before they ever step foot in our program, they sign up on our website, and then our executive director calls and screens every single person to find out what's going on with them, where, what medicines are you taking? What is, do you suffer from sexual trauma? Because those are the things that we want to be aware of, especially when we put them in a group situation, because you never know what's going to trigger somebody.
Right.
But it's confidential. We as a staff only get told what we need to know, which is very little, but it might be just keep an eye on this person,
Yeah.
We do not call it PTSD. We drop the D, because there are a lot of things that they try to, the psychiatric community tries to wrap up into disorder. And so we try to help with each thing and each person. Each person is an individual. And so that's kind of where we go and what we do and how we do it. We run a 7-day program out at Lions Camp Merrick in Nanjemoy. It's free for the person that comes to us. And that means including their transportation. And if we have to fly them from California, we fly them from California. Lately, we've gotten a bunch of people from Puerto Rico. And so everything is covered for them: room, board, food, and transportation.
That's so. I'm going to dive back into that in a second. I want to back up a little bit into really kind of just appreciating you for doing the medication management and, sharing that information, because not only, that affects our veterans, of course. But I think it affects just everyone. Just kind of being a little bit smarter about it. One of the things that was a plus for my dad is that he really, which is weird, he really liked being on the computer. And so he was like always searching for stuff or in chat rooms or what have you, which was great because, you do get some information now, whether you're trusting everything that the internet says is another story. Right. And so I really do think that self-care, medication management, just being a little bit more knowledgeable about what different opportunities are available is just good for everyone. That's just good stuff. And I think that for veterans to really have like their own, you no longer have to do what you're told. Like, it's not that same mentality. Like, you do this or else is kind of like that military mentality. And you just did what you were told because you did what you were told. Right. And then now that they're no longer in the military, they can question things and they can kind of take that power back as far as caring for themselves and really kind of figuring out what they need to do. And I wanted to touch also on the self-medicating and things like that. I know that you and I had talked about this offline, and that's why I know all these things. That is such a huge issue. A lot of times when people are doing those self-medications, it's because of that trauma, right? That is not has not been dealt with either in a mental health capacity, because a lot of people, I feel like mental health is such a new thing. Like let me do the rabbit ears, a new thing. Some of their older folks, I know my mom was totally like, if we started talking about feelings and stuff, my mom was like, if you're sad, have some ice cream, or go shopping, or in the case of some is go have a drink, right? Go have a drink, or go do something so that you can take your mind off of it, which wasn't necessarily a healthy habit. But really the thing that is the culprit of it is whatever that trauma was. Now, there are some things that are things that we Maryland crime victims cannot assist with, right? As far as what you've seen, what you've heard, how you felt, those are definitely for a mental health professional, which is not us. And I know that you guys do some of that as well. But our side of things is actually dealing with the trauma as far as legally. And so this is where I wanted to introduce Joanna, because you'll know more than I will about the stuff that Victor did to kind of open up that like judicial system within the military, because it used to be very closed, right? It used to be you had to kind of like tell your one up, and the one up had to tell the, like there's a chain of command there, where that has recently changed when it comes to crime. Correct, Joanna?
Well, what they did is, so they have the JAG force, the Judge Advocate General, who's basically kind of like the top lawyer for the each branch, and that's their criminal law system. So when crime happens within the military, because I think two distinctions, we can talk about veterans who, this happens, a crime can happen when they're actively serving, or it involves another person who's actively serving, and then it becomes a part of the military criminal justice system. They can also be crimes in the civilian criminal justice system. So the changes that happened were in the military criminal justice system, where they actually have JAG attorneys who will now represent and advocate for the victim, which is a pretty amazing thing. And one of our attorneys, Victor Stone, was a big part of pushing for that to happen. And, they tried to mirror a little more what was happening in the civilian, on the civilian side of things, because it used to be, okay, this is how we do things. Nope, you're not allowed to have an attorney as a victim. And so first they introduced, having civilian attorneys coming, and now they actually have an office for representing victims. So that's definitely some huge steps. And that's just I can't remember exactly when, but just happened within the last few years. So it's still very new, but an exciting thing to help veterans who are currently serving or have otherwise become victims, and that person is being prosecuted in the military criminal justice system. And do you want me to talk about the civilian system yet, or no?
You absolutely can. Yeah.
And so the thing with the civilian, so I can speak to Maryland. Every state is a little different, but in Maryland, you have rights as a victim of crime. You have a right to be notified, to be told not only what court dates are, but kind of what's happening. You can be given updates if you don't want to attend, and you have to be notified of any plea offers, that type of thing. You also have the right to be heard at, particularly giving your victim impact statement at sentencing. There are also other times that you can be heard on issues regarding your victim rights. And so there's also other resources out there, like in Maryland, it's called CICB, the Criminal Injuries Compensation Board. And there is a similar organization in just about every state. They all have different names, but usually, if people are physically injured in crime, there can be some compensation for some of those lost bills, if not covered by insurance and other various means that person might have. So there's a lot of options out there, and a lot of things that we do, and we walk people who are victims of crime in Maryland. regardless of where you live, if the crime happened in Maryland, is being prosecuted in Maryland, we can assist. Sometimes we have other resources we can assist with if you're a victim of a crime in another state, but we can't walk you through the legal system quite like we can here in Maryland, since we are a Maryland organization. We have Maryland attorneys who can appear in Maryland courts. So
right. So thanks for sharing that history as far as those changes that have occurred, and I think that hopefully that is changing on the inside. But I think that also as far the inside of the military, clearly, it's spreading awareness that there are different venues versus like the chain of command. I think was the huge big change there, yeah. So Victor Stone, he's one of our attorneys. I thought about inviting him, but he definitely has a lot of information to share. So if there are questions on that, we definitely could field those to him if something is going on. And I just want to, invite people, like if you don't know a starting point, feel free to reach out. What's the worst that we can say? We can't help you, but try here. Which is maybe better than some of the other information that you might get somewhere else, and we can help you with anything that's in Maryland. So if there's something traumatic that happened, which maybe even caused you to go into the military, or things that happen, while you're in the military, it doesn't have to be things that you just kind of push under the carpet and try to self-medicate about. So I just want to throw that out there. And then we'll get back on to the Warfighter Advance show here. So thank you for that, Joanna. And let's get back into Camp Merrick. So Camp Merrick is a program that Susan was sharing with me. How long does it last, and what are the goals, and who goes, and what do you guys do? All the good stuff.
So Lions Camp Merrick is out on the Patuxent, I think, river. I get my rivers confused, but it's up in Nanjemoy. It's on
The Potomac River.
Yeah, there you go. It's one of the P rivers, It's a 7-day. I hate to use the word. We don't use the word retreat because
session.
Yeah, there you go. Session. We call it evolutions, but evolutions doesn't mean anything to anybody but us. And it starts on Sunday night. The participants normally come in anytime on Saturday, early Sunday morning. We have a big welcome dinner on Sunday night where we invite a lot of our supporters, and we're an alumni that are in the area to come out and to welcome our new participants. They get I wouldn't say they get their last meal, but it's like we have steak and salmon, it's we do it upright, and then from there, after the dinner is over, they start with their first session, and so we call it it's a group meeting, and they kind of get the ground rules for the week, what's going to happen. The biggest thing we tell everybody is their stories are their stories, and their stories are sacred, and nobody can ever take those stories away from them. And we hope that at some point during the week that they will share their story. Nobody is made to share their story. People are encouraged to share their story because, as you know, like you said with your father, sharing the story is what helps healing, is sharing that story. And I think the biggest thing out of that is that when people start sharing their stories, people realize they're not alone, that other people have had the same experiences they've had or have had similar experiences. Some are very traumatic, some are not traumatic, but everybody has a story, and people are not allowed to comment on their stories. You can't ask questions, or you can't say, oh, well, that wasn't really that bad. They're not allowed to do that because, like I said, one of the first rules is everybody's story is sacred to them, and it's what they remember and what they're dealing with. From there, they go to bed. We kind of run it like a military. Taps is at 10. And, it's especially that day, because everybody, as you can imagine, everybody that walks into that room that has never been in that room is either nervous, scared. What the hell did I do? Why did I do this? Just all those questions. And I mean, you can feel the fear coming off of them, and so we that have been through the program kind of are there to be that buffer of, see, we survived the program. We're not gonna hurt you. But everybody is asked and expected to take part in everything. Now, we know there are limitations because we do have people come in wheelchairs, people that older. Our oldest participant just went through for his second time, and I believe he's 84 years old. The first time he went through, he was 80, and he literally did all the team building exercises. And when I say team building exercises, high ropes and low ropes courses are involved in them. And so, this time he didn't. This time he actually brought his daughter with him, who needed to go through also. And so it was kind of the first time we've had a father-daughter team. We have had a father-son team, which was kind of unique to watch. But the morning is the starting right in Monday morning. They start in with a full morning of instruction. We cover, like I said, leadership. We cover medications. It's all kinds of stuff. Trying to teach them about the fact that what they suffered was normal. As we say, nobody went to war crazy or injured. And yes, they might come home with physical injuries and stuff, but we don't minimize it. We try to have them, you have to accept it, and then we move on, with our power. We give them their power back. We teach them that they never lost their power, that they think they gave their power away. Like you said, being in the military, you're used to saying yes sir, no sir, 3 days, 3 bags full, right? And so teaching them that, well, now that they're out of the service, they're in power. It's them saying no or them saying yes. And then the afternoon is spent in team building exercises, basically forming this group into a team. And so, like, we call them an evolution. So we just finished evolution 36. And so this group becomes known as evolution 36 for the rest of their time. And for the rest of their lives, they'll be part of evolution 36. And at the end of all this, at graduation, then they become, we have a groups going on Signal. And so they're hooked up into their group. And so they have their group, and then any of the alumni that have gone before them to contact, say they're having issues, they're struggling about something. All they have to do is post it. And I'm going to tell you, within less than 5 minutes, somebody will answer and talk to that person. And we do that. And so, like, I'm in every single group because I'm the chaplain. So, if somebody doesn't answer, I'm going to answer them. But to watch the team bond and become close friends and allies and the support team, because we have this last one, 2 ones ago, I guess, we had a guy came in a wheelchair, was going through the DTs. So he decided at graduation that he was going to join AA. So he's gone back to AA, and he has now hit his 30 days of sobriety. We just had another guy that is now one of our mentors that just got his year chip. And so we also talk about the alcohol, and we have an alcohol AA meeting on one of the nights for those that are looking for help, and that we have enough recovering alcoholics that we identify those that we know are suffering from that, so that they know that they have a person with the resources right there to help them and to go through there. And so, and then at the end of the week, we take them on a trip, and then we graduate on Saturday and send them on their way. and then they become alumni. And then on every 22nd day of the month, every single alumni, and we have well over 500 now, all over the world, gets a phone call, text message, email, phone call, whatever it takes to check on them to make sure that they are okay and doing okay, or whether they need help. If somebody doesn't answer, it gets bumped up to the chaplains to reach out. And if they still don't answer, then it gets bumped up to the executive director.
Because you needed more to do, right, Susan?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Luckily, almost everybody knows that they've got to answer, whether it's I'm okay, leave me alone, or just this is what's going on with me. Since we moved to Signal, it's a lot easier for our people to communicate with each other, and they do that. They communicate. We've had a couple people struggling with trying to taper off of drugs and was having some issues, and reached out, and all kinds of people. Try this, try that, do this.
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely great, and I definitely think that back to my dad is that isolation from not finding that same brotherhood that he had while he was in the military and on base was really stunning for him. Really stunning for him. So it's nice to hear that you're wrapping in the NA and AA things, lessons and sessions into, what you're doing to make sure that it's like this well-rounded resource for the guys that are coming. So how many guys and gals, right? Guys and gals.
Yep.
How many slots are there available for your evolutions?
We see 25. We normally get 20, and we do it 6 times a year.
Oh, wow. Okay. 6 times a year.
Right. So we do it 3, like we just finished our 3rd one for this year. We do them in the winter, spring, because naturally the camp is used as a camp for kids during the summertime. And then we'll pick back up in September. We'll do one September, October, and November. This year was end of February, end of March, and end of April, or actually May we did it. One of the things that, because a lot of these people are on medication, the first thing that a lot of these medications hit is the adrenal gland. And so consequently, they cannot no longer, their body doesn't adjust to the temperature. So we definitely don't want to be doing it out in the hot, muggy summer of Maryland. So.
Oh, I was going to say the opposite. I was like, our winters aren't that great either. So we're really kind of, I guess it depends on where you live.
They're cool enough that it's we have to use the heaters, so it's cool enough,
We've got hot and cold. Yeah,
right.
We've got all the seasons here. Sometimes
absolutely
the same day.
Yeah.
And then I guess the other follow-up questions that I have for Camp Merrick is, does it matter how long they served?
Oh no, absolutely not. As long as, I mean, we've got ones, 30 days, it's those that go to boot camp and can't make it through boot camp or whatever. So no, there is no requirement. There is no requirement that they have to retire. They have to do 20 years. They have to do 12, no requirement whatsoever. And we're in the process of redoing our website so that it doesn't, because somebody told me, it really appears that I have had to go to war. And it's like, no, you don't have to have gone to war.
From the name.
Right. And so, well, in that saying, we reintegrate warfighters. So, but I guess there was something little there that said it, because everybody that was on that thing had gone to war. So, I mean, if you take me, I came in during the Cold War, right? I came in 1974. So the end of Vietnam. And, okay, I don't say I went to war, but I was during Desert Storm, and I served on an aircraft carrier that did go over to the other part of the world and Persian Gulf there, and did see combat. But on an aircraft carrier, you don't see very much combat except for your planes taking off from the deck and coming back, and so, but I will tell you that my trigger point in life, and I never realized it, was 9/11. So I was stationed at Naval District, Washington, at the Navy Yard in DC, and it was Unfortunately, I was not in DC, or fortunately, I was not in DC on 9/11. I was on the golf course in Quantico, and we were having it was during the Chiefs initiation season, and we were all down there, and so we got basically trapped on the base down there because all the bases went into lockdown.
Yeah.
And if you think back then, we didn't have like GPS on our phones and stuff, and so
Yes.
we're all out there with our maps trying to figure out how to get home without going through the district.
The answer was stay right where you are, because
Well,
I was also in DC. I was actually at the Ronald Reagan building, and it was a fiasco.
Yep. Well,
But I think everybody has trauma from that. That was just such a huge day, particularly in this area. I mean, you don't really realize how many people commute from so far away until something like that happens. And it was a whole situation. So,
well, as being part of Naval District Washington and the National Capital Region, we were in charge of setting up the CAECO headquarters, and so all the CAECO calls were ran out of our building, and with our command. And so I was pretty involved with that and recruiting chaplains and people to be CAECOs. So so I never realized it though, because every time when I went up to New York to see it, I came away in tears and stuff. And so now I have to say, out of respect for me, and I really believe it is, every time we take our group to Arlington, we go to the 9/11 memorial, whether I'm there or not. So it's kind of nice,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I mean, I think, all of that was just, that was a lot. That was a lot of processing for that year. And then everything that happened afterwards with our military kind of moving so quickly, I think just hits everywhere. I think it hits everywhere. And I think that just goes to show like how we internalize things as humans is, when it's a lot to process, like, there's a lot of what ifs and what should I do, and then questioning yourself, and then being in the military, I could just imagine it just being so much more. I had said earlier that my husband was Army, but he also was a police officer, and at the time he was sent over to the Pentagon from where he was. So I think that there was, just kind of like double down on how involved you are in the situation. It's nearby. It's everything.
Yep.
Is just so much. But I'm definitely glad that you found, the space that you are able to make the impact on people that you care about and the community that you care about. I mean, I think that it's a lot. I mean, mental health is always at the forefront of a lot of conversations these days, and just making sure that everyone is in a good space. And I think that, we've always known that our veterans needed help. I don't think that that's ever been not a concern. I mean, I just feel like everyone knows that, like it's just ingrained in us. But to know that you're taking care of the mental health, which is such a thing to branch over anyway, just because of the stigma and all the things that are associated with that, where we as society are trying to remove from getting that help, and kind of just raising your hand and saying, I do need help. I do need help managing medication, or I do need help with self-medication, or I do need help with, anything at all, especially when it's, these tough military folks that are just so used to whatever. It's hard to kind of break down that thought process. Not only, I mean, I think mainly for the people that are directly involved, because, they kind of have a certain space that they live in to do what they do. So thanks for that. And then Warfighter Advance is not just your location, right?
Yes, this is actually the only location we do it in. But like I said, we fly people from all over the world. We've had one of our people helping us out is from the Irish Army. And we've had Canadians. We have one of our mentors lives in Spain. So we've brought them in.
I'll take that one. That's where I want to go.
Okay. and the nice thing is that when we bring them in from other places, it's like, yeah, you got to come visit us. It's like, you got a place to stay. So we're working on Puerto Rico right now. So we've had quite a few in the last 3 classes. We've had at least 3 or 4 people from Puerto Rico coming in. So, which is nice, because in reality, Puerto Rico is where this program started. Dr. Veaton, who is our executive director, she was actually stationed in Puerto Rico. And
well, then I definitely picked that one over Spain then.
Yeah.
Nice close flight too.
Yes, it is. Actually, you can get a direct flight out of BWI.
Yeah.
I was looking that up because I got a cruise going out of there next year.
Sounds amazing.
But so yes. So right now, the only place we hold it is at Lions Camp Merrick. And one of the reasons it's only one place is because we've been asked, are you going to do satellite stations? Well, it takes an army to put one of these together, and we're getting to the place where we're finally financially able to do things. When I got into the program in 2018, we had to cancel Evolutions because we didn't have the money to do it.
Wow.
And so, but we feel that if we had to have, say, two places to do it, first of all, we have the subject matter experts that are here that can come to us and do it. And it means we would either have to find more subject matter experts, or we'd have to take those subject matter experts and fly them someplace else. And so our theory is to increase what we have at the place we're at, because this is where the subject matter experts is. And that's why we, like I said, we'll fly, drive, whatever a person needs. We'll get them here from wherever they are, and we'll get them back home again. And I will tell you that, our old military thing is the mission is not complete until the last person is home on deck. And so we literally on signal watch for everybody to get home and to check in. And as soon as they check in with our logistics person and he gives us an all clear, then we close the mission. But until that last person is home on deck, and I'm going to tell you, our logistician there, he works miracles when people either don't make their flights, or they miss a flight, or a flight gets canceled. He's out in California, but he is on that phone with that person until they arrive at home. And so, we feel very strongly about our veterans, and we take care of them. If they're going to come to us and trust us with a week of their lives, then they're going to be able to trust us to take care of them, to get home and to, again, answer them when they have issues. We're not going to, block that number or whatever, know what I mean? We're going to talk to them. And, in the meantime, the rest of us, especially around here and other places, are out fundraising or attempting to fundraise, and getting involved in different things. Last week we did the Military Appreciation Day at Chick-fil-A, and this coming Saturday, I'm going out to kick off the Legion Riders.
I will see you there.
That's cool.
I will see you there. Yep.
So my husband and I are going over there to kick that off, and then our director, she's going to be at the end. So kind of split the duties. We had somebody this week did a golf tournament for us and stuff, and so we were out there too. So we try to. We're getting more and more alumni closer by that can go out and do those things. So.
Yeah, well, that's the big answer for us smaller nonprofits. We're small as well. We're just spread out to take care of all of Maryland, and we really kind of have to rely on people helping us, because there's just not a way for us to just, we're already spread thin trying to take care of, Maryland seems tiny, but I swear it's like ginormous. You just can't even. We've got mountains and seas and rivers and lakes and oceans and all kinds of stuff here. So.
Yeah, we got it all. I think that's how I ended up down here, other than being stationed here.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. Winters. I'm not a winter kind of gal, but
Well, I'm originally from Connecticut, so these winters are better than Connecticut. Okay.
my dad was from Buffalo. I didn't really realize that their summer consisted of like 75-degree weather. So I'm like, this it? That's all you got?
So I've got one other thing. So, one of our biggest group of people that we're dealing with right now are the Vietnam vets, because, the Vietnam vets, they never told their story.
Yeah.
They weren't encouraged to tell their stories and stuff. And so we give them a place to be able to tell those stories finally, and to get the help that they need and stuff. And so, So that's right now one of our bigger groups is our Vietnam vets, and so we encourage them all to come through. And it wasn't till I got in there that I realized that technically I'm a Vietnam vet.
Yeah.
Because I came in 1974. So did I go to Vietnam? No, but neither did my husband, who's a Vietnam vet. Didn't go to Vietnam. So.
And I think that was also a different. There were different things going on, like as far as like the U.S. being supportive and the citizens being supportive. And so just thinking that you join the military to support your country, and then, that's not how it's perceived is a tough thing all in all. So, I mean, just alone is a whole Pandora's box to open up, just having those feelings and what have you. So I imagine that being very challenging. My father and my father-in-law also same Vietnam, kind of didn't go, but served during that time. So a lot of the same, feelings. So for your evolutions, is there a cost associated for veterans?
Nope.
Okay.
Totally free.
And it is not just U.S. military. That's what I caught from earlier. It can be other people as well, other organizations that feel that they need that support.
Yes.
Are welcome.
Yep.
Okay.
And can I ask a question real quick? Do you include veterans who aren't struggling with alcohol or medication issues, who are just not feeling like they're fitting in, that type of thing?
Absolutely. Absolutely. There's no requirement that they have to be on drugs or addicted to anything. Like I wasn't. I went because I had to meet with Doc V, and she decided I needed to go through the program. So one of our requirements before you can be a mentor or any of that stuff is you have to go through the program, because if you don't understand what the program is about, you can't very well mentor somebody else. And so, no, you don't have to be on anything. You can just be, something's just not right, or I'm just not fitting back in. I talked to a gentleman the other day who just moved to this area, and he can't find anybody to meet up with.
Yeah.
And so, I said, come on out to the program.
Sometimes I feel like that's grown-up issues too.
Yeah. Well,
like as a grown-up, where do you make friends?
Well, that's it. Especially like if you don't want it, like me. Okay, I'm not a drinker, right? So I'm not going to go to the bar to meet people. And I'm not necessarily going to go to the VFW, the American Legion, because that's where everybody hangs, is in the bar, right?
Right.
And so, and you definitely don't want to go there if you're a recovering alcoholic, But I will tell you, I walked in the American Legion meeting. I was the only female in the room. And it's like, the auxiliary's down the corner. Excuse me. I was active duty.
Exactly.
I did that. I did that on a cruise ship too. I walked into a group of veterans, and it was the only female. Well, I wasn't. There was a spouse sitting there, and so they go all the way around the room, and we were late, so they got my husband to introduce himself, and then he went on, and it's like, excuse me, I'm the veteran here.
Yeah.
So we
another separate category, right?
Yep. So we decided this time when we go on our cruise, since this cruise line does this veterans things, that we're taking our Warfighter Advance shirts with us.
Yeah. And so my aunt is the one who served in the Air Force, and my uncle followed her around the world, and he always goes, "Oh no, I'm just the chef. Like I'm just the chef and the mechanic, and the house cleaner and the maid and the laundry. Like he's listing his jobs." And he, they were both nurses, but she went to Afghanistan. He was at home, like cooking.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what my husband will tell you the same thing. As he does it with my deacon. I'm just a deacon helper.
It's a kept man.
Yep.
Anywho, I mean, that definitely sounds like a lot of cross interest as far as things that are going on, and it is nice to kind of have a little bit of everything. Like like Joanna said, you don't have to be suffering from addiction. I think that as a whole, I mean, that brotherhood or sisterhood or what have you, brotherhood, I mean, whatever, is strong enough. I mean, society is strong enough. You create your own little group, and they'll find ways to lift each other in their time of need. And I think that it's nice to, number one, have a purpose because you're helping another person, and also for that person to be receiving the assistance that they need, is always a plus. So it's nice to hear that there's a mixture of people there. All right, I think that's all that I have. Was there anything, Joanna, that you wanted to touch on, or Susan, before we hopped off?
I just got one other thing.
Yeah.
So we have a really good no suicides out of the over 500 evolutions. We have not suffered suicides. Now that doesn't say people haven't died, because lots of times they just can't kick that addiction. But nobody that's come to our program has literally committed suicide.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's saying something. That really is.
It is. And it's, we, like you said, as you said, we're a nonprofit. And so, we live by donors. And so, we try to go out, and we also do word of mouth. And so I would just say, if anybody needs more information, feel free to reach out to us at warfighteradvance.org. And, it's all word of mouth. It's other veterans getting other people to come and stuff. And I'm one of these ones now, if I see a hat or a coat, I'll stop and talk to them. And I usually have my cards with me. So, like I said, if you're interested, give me a call.
Yeah. No, thanks for that. And I definitely wanted to plug that and plug you guys there. And I must say that that's how I got in contact with you guys, was through the website. So they're very responsive. Joanna and I and Danielle, who is our Southern Maryland attorney, went to the resource fair, the Veterans Resource Fair. We were tabling there, and that's where we met some people from Warfighters Advance. It wasn't Susan particularly, but I reached out on the website, and they were very responsive, and we connected. So very kind of easy to kind of grab and just, get there, get that help, and share that info. If you know someone that needs resources in trying to just kind of get back into society after serving in the military, or someone who needs that mental health capacity and component that Warfighter Advance offers. 5 evolutions a year. Can't be doing it wrong at that point. And
so,
then, go ahead.
Just correct you. It's 6.
Six. Okay.
And
6.
And in actuality, the only one that's open right now is November. We've already got September and October already booked.
Lovely. So space for November now to make your November plans. Right. If you know someone that's struggling, or if you have a veteran in your family that you kind of can identify and say, what, this might be good for them. Now's the time, and then start prepping for next year. Yep. Right. If you have experienced something where you need legal help, Maryland Crime Victims Resource Center is here for you as well. Veterans, you are not veterans, families, whether you're on base, off base, we are here to help you. If we can't help you, the worst case is we can try to send you in the right direction, or make some connections for you. Our advocates and attorneys are throughout Maryland, and so they probably know of some resources in your space if you're watching this. And even if you're not in our space, we do take calls from other places sometimes. It's so funny when I see that on our files. It'll be like out of town, out of state, but it's we answer the phone, and we try to get people where they need to be. So if there is something that really kind of has happened to you, regardless of the time that it's happened, if you would like help to see what your options are, please feel free to reach out to us. We are on Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Twitter. We also have our website, mdcrimevictims.org, if you want to do that. Or you can just comment on one of our posts, reach out, send us a message, and we'll get back to you. All right. Anything else?
No, thank you, Sandra.
Thank you, ladies, for joining us, and hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you very much.
Thanks. See you soon.
Yep.
See you Saturday.
Yes, see you Saturday.
All right.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Okie dokie.